Drop it, Mislav. He's scared. Damn it, a bit of it. The jump there didn't quite work, but you know the song I'm trying to get in the flow of, and you know the guy too. It's Joel Turner, and you wouldn't believe that he was once famous and on Wheat Bix boxes if I told you. This guy kind of looked like a pig, didn't really have any talent. All he did was just do this kind of sap.
Hey,
that everyone else could do better than him anyway.
Where's Joel Turner?
I was amazed.
Where is Joel Turner now? Can we get that trending? Where's Joel Turner?
Hashtag where's Joel?
Hashtag where's Joel?
Why is there this conspiracy keeping him from the public?
I'm so sick of him not being a multi-millionaire.
I'm sick of him not being on the dollar bill. Like, bring back the dollar bill, put his face on it, press a little button on it that just goes, all Australian Wheat Bix. That's what you need.
These kids eat these Wheat Bix. I'm sorry. He should be, and he should also be mandatory. Like, is that a word? Mandatorily. I made that word. Twitch. Take that to the bank.
Coin,
Take
yeah,
that
that's
to the bank. Coin.
All right, bring coins back. That's it. Put Mislav's face on it. He made him cool again.
On both sides.
Yeah.
Mislav's
The only
face.
person-
And one normally with that beanie, one with a crown.
Heads or heads. But yeah, I'm sick of like that dude, Joel Turner, not like being mandatory that he has to be voted on every hottest 100. Like he just has to be in there.
You should win it automatically. In fact, it should just be said, just like with World Idol, where it was obvious that Australia was just going to vote for Australia, so you just gave him 12 points automatically. That's the whole thing. It's just like, obviously, we are going to do Joel Turner's It's Getting Hot in Here with that guy I assume was from Campbelltown that you just squint. You're like, you weren't on Australian Idol. Who the fuck are you? Like, that guy. It's just that rap is going to be number one from now on. Or honorary, at the very least. S tier.
Has to happen.
Stop paying out Campbelltown.
No.
Why?
How about Campbelltown stop being shit?
Yeah, I agree. I have to.
Hey,
vote
it's
too.
not shit. It's only shit after 11 p.m. when you might get stabbed. But before 11 p.m., it's actually really cool.
Why? 'Cause
Highly
there's
doubt that, dude.
skyscrapers?
Look,
There's skyscrapers.
It votes Labour every time.
yeah, that's true, actually.
There you
All
go.
right, you won
Got
me
you
over.
on that
That's
one.
true.
Good.
They need that dough money. I mean, that's why.
You know what? That's actually true. That's spot on. Should we like?
And also, let's be honest, a lot of it is just like, yeah, Sam Desiara is running for that. He's my cousin's friend. Like, that's a huge reason.
The system works. Yeah.
So stop, that's what I'm saying. Before we came back from this, stop paying out that guy praying at BP. That is a proud Labor voter right there.
I have a feeling
doubt it.
that
Bowing
he
to his
can't
vote. He's
vote.
probably in his...
Yeah, that's right.
I have a very strong
Yeah, me
feeling
too.
that he hasn't been to that citizenship meeting.
Yeah,
He probably
yeah.
is just sitting there being like, please, Bill Shorten, give me the citizen.
Yeah.
Praying to Bill.
Albanese, dude.
Yeah.
It's like,
So good. Bill Shorten's face apparates in the sky. I can't give it to you.
Yeah.
I've been on a temporary visa for 7 years. Labor government already.
And you know what happened too? It'd be like, dude, it's Albo, not Bill Shorten. And then Albo would be like, g'day, mate. Yeah, I'll give you a citizenship. Just drink this beer. And he'll just be like, oh. And like, it'd be a huge
The one thing
Conundrum. Yeah.
Huge conundrum.
You do want the citizenship, don't you?
How badly do you want it, mate? Like, oh.
Hey, to be continued.
Well, we're moving on to the podcast, but just on that note, I was telling the boys this, and I don't know how many if our audience is Muslim, because I have a feeling that you would know about
100%,
this.
dude.
Doubt it. I really, really doubt that. But do you know there's like this new Turkish TV show that is huge? Like it's getting Mr. Beast kind of views at the moment.
What's
Well,
that?
thank you for putting it in terms that I'd understand.
Yeah.
Finally.
Is Mr. Beast like fat CU-T, that guy, or something like that?
Pretty much, except instead of having shots of him from this angle up of him naked on Twitter that says, go on, suck it.
Oh!
He has just, a bunch of videos saying, I bought my girlfriend 100,000 roses. I bought 100,000 bars.
Is it a YouTube? Oh, I hate how that's like. Sorry, I don't want to keep cutting you up. But I hate how that's like the metric of YouTube now. It's like, you want to be big? Yeah. Do everything. to the extreme. So it's like, I'm eating noodles today. To the extreme. I'm having a bath. To the extreme. I'm going for a helicopter ride. To the extreme.
Yeah, it's that. It's like, I took a bath in, that massive swimming pool in that place we built for the Olympics.
And
It
the
is
swimming pool was filled with Jello. That's the kind of shit
and it
on
was filled with
YouTube.
jello.
Yeah.
Gotta be
No,
jelly.
slime, guys.
Slime, yeah. What?
Slime.
Okay, listen.
Anyway,
I
sorry,
want to
sorry.
this is because like this TV show, like
By the way, is this a soap opera?
not exactly. It's like the equivalent of like Muslim Game of Thrones.
So
But it
high
is-
budget soap opera.
High budget soap opera.
Because my grandma, when I was over in Croatia, watched a Turkish soap opera. It's like huge in Croatia.
Yeah, well, so Turkish
Might be
soap operas are kind of big in the adjoining areas because, like, your grandma probably lives in Croatia,
Croatia.
right? So,
But that's not really close to Turkey.
surprise. It's not, but it comes under
Close
the
enough.
close
Yeah,
enough.
yeah.
But anyway, so the drama that I'm talking about is like this is popular. Okay, so just as so they put in an Urdu dub version of it, which is the language of Pakistan. So just for one country, the first episode in a matter of weeks had close to 50 million views. And it keeps growing. Like, literally, nothing unites the Muslim world more than this one particular show being trending everywhere. It's trending so much that even in the Arab country, like Saudi Arabia, is so freaked out by it that they're like commissioning their own versions of it, which are probably no one's gonna watch. But this is the
Yeah, they
cool
also
thing.
commissioned that Pakistani band to do a Song of War King.
That was amazing. No, that was the Indian, wasn't it?
No, it was
Pakistani.
That was amazing.
Don't reveal
What was-
that. I can't remember the title of it.
No, but what was the lyric?
It was came from the desert. Came from the desert. Now building in the desert. Now building in the desert.
And now they're some of the richest band members on earth. They're richer than Joel Turner.
No, I think
It came from the desert. The desert. So good.
And you know what else is amazing? I was saying to Ali, wow, the recording of this is terrible. They obviously lifted it on VHS and put it on there. And he was saying, no, it was digital.
I really liked the vibe.
What? Yeah, it was like it was a retro song.
It was like retro. It was like unintentionally, like indie bands go for that sound. They they like warp the tape and shit to make it sound all vintage. Those guys were trying to make it modern.
Yes.
And it got that effect.
It is the room of music, and it is amazing that one of the most powerful men on earth, the king of Saudi Arabia, was sitting there going, yes, very good.
But it is just it's the dumbest song you'll ever hear. Just the lyrics of it are extreme. You literally can tell it's just made by a dumb person to appease the royalty. Anyways, like I can't remember what the title of that song is, but just like
I think it was a
came from the desert or something. Yeah. But anyway, I'm trying to get at a point with this Turkish drama. So it's called Ertuğrul. And it's based on like this historical character. We don't know much about him, but he was the father of the first Ottoman king. We don't know a lot about that guy, so they've just kind of made their version of history on it. Anyway, it's like it's a propaganda show. It's created by the Turkish government.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, look, but like it's equivalent to like ABC producing a show, and you know how it would have certain values that they would want to promote. But the key thing about this show is because it's such a craze. I was like, dude, I need to get into this. I want to find out why is it so big. And I like sort of noticed a few really interesting things about it. First of all, it is extremely different to. So if you look at like modern day Western TV shows, right? Your Game of Thrones, anything that has to do with like some political context, like House of Cards. It is extremely dependent on this postmodernist view of the world. Postmodernist view, for those of you that don't know, it's just like they believe that there is no objective reality. Everything has versions of understanding. So you can look at some, like if you're looking at this laptop, I'm looking at it from one angle, Miss Love's looking at it from another angle. Even though it's the same thing, we all have different realities of it. So there's no objective to. That's why like things like Game of Thrones, there's no real hero, or like House of Cards. He's not motivated. The guy's not motivated by anything else, but except for his like this brute interest and shit. So and you can watch it with anything like Batman series. It's very postmodernist. V for Vendetta. There's a very similar theme, and that's the sort of modern day Western way of producing shit, right? And there's a huge problem with it in my.
Can that fuck off?
Well, I don't mind it in
Aren't we
movies.
done with that?
I mean, the theory of postmodernism is just like so douchey, but it kind of works in movies because the alternative is just Fast and the Furious 10.
The other
It's
thing is
intelligent.
They never go the full,
you can say that.
They never go the full hog.
Well, V for Vendetta did. It's like
No, there was good guys in that.
No.
V for Vendetta is also like a fairy tale because none of these movies, and that relates to the point that I wanted to make, none of these movies have actually a solution to what this like for V for Vendetta, there's no movie, and Slavoj Žižek also points this out, there's no movie about what happens the day after the revolution. Yeah. Because none of them really know what they want.
Totally.
This postmodernist view because it doesn't have an objective reality, you really don't know what you're striving to get at. I mean, even with if you look at like Black Lives Matter protests, as much as like, I support the cause and everything, but it ends up being this like, it's against this advanced capitalist system that we live in, but it falls into the same trap where it just becomes like worship of commodity, where you end up stealing plasma TVs. It's such a weird, because I think like we're literally in a very advanced level of capitalism in the Western world, and it relates back to like this Marxist theory of alienation, which I don't want to get because
Dude, I've got a better theory. People are stupid.
People are stupid, but it also has like certain negative consequences. That's why like
Catch it out of the bag.
having that sort of an ideology of the world means that when like Australia has elections, we vote based on like who's going to give us a $20 tax break, because there's nothing that motivates us anymore. We're living in this like post-capitalist.
I don't think that's true either.
What do you mean?
It's just that they're not allowed to paint the alternate picture.
Right. Yeah,
It's just
it
because
benefits
there's a concentration of media, and they say that $20 tax cut, and Labor wants to give you a $20 tax. That's the alternative that they paint for the Australian public every time.
But there's also like no way. I understand that because postmodernist view is very good for people that have power because it keeps the status quo. When you don't believe in anything as good and bad and everything, just what you do is like you preserve the status quo. So I understand that. But at the same time, I don't think there is an ideology after the fall of communism that motivates individuals in the Western world to sacrifice something from within self for a greater pursuit.
You don't need an ideology. You just need to know that you have higher land clearing rates than Brazil, and you should probably stop that.
I don't think that's
know
accurate. Think of any civilization that has excelled to its peak. I mean, we don't even need to go back to the like as in civilizations that became really successful. That for
New Zealand.
Well, East Asian.
Jacinta Ardern, what a saint. But no, she is. But seriously, do something about your teeth. Keep going.
So, even if like the last sort of community that became first world and highly industrialized was the East Asian economies, like the countries like South Korea and whatever. But like if you look at their literature from the 60s when they were on the path of becoming it was all about sacrificing yourself, sacrificing yourself for the next generation.
Yeah.
We have a complete absence of that ideology at the moment because we don't know what to strive for. Humans are able to understand. They're willing to sacrifice themselves, but you need to give them like a direction.
I mean, you'd say,
yeah, that's exactly it. But you can. But the thing is, you don't need some overarching ideology for that. You just need to state a couple of facts to the Australian public. And
I don't think that motivates them enough. Like, I understand where you're coming from. It might motivate people like us, but for like the average Joe, it really helps if you tell them, yeah, those people living in Russia, they're evil and we're good people, and this entire war is to like for like freedom of society.
Mislav, come on. You're an average Joe. What motivates you?
What are those pies
Pop-Tarts.
called? Yeah, there's ones that are like cottage pies because they got taters in them.
And
Zoom in on me.
But like,
You say we have an absence of ideology. Look at this fire in this man.
But like, even someone like
he wants a pie.
But this will prove my point.
Piece of the pie.
Even someone like Miss Love who gets triggered by some random dude praying at BP.
I don't get triggered. I get triggered by people that get triggered if they don't like join in.
I don't think he was
I
asking
love
you
that
to
in a lot
join
of
in.
these conversations.
No,
Mislav
you
becomes
are.
a guinea pig to us, and we're talking about the guinea pig, but the guinea pig has a microphone.
Yeah. And he can say whatever. But
I think that's your retarded narrative.
But even now, Miss Love having whatever he finds his purpose in Eastern philosophy, like Buddhism and like and
true.
people like such. So there is some sort of an absence, right, where you're not able to like explore what you're seeking, and hence a lot of Western people end up moving towards Eastern philosophy. This TV show, I mean, look, it has whatever. It's just like it is quite binary and it's a little regressive, but what it does have is that idea of sacrifice in order to achieve something big. That's the basis of the
Antifa would
entire
love
show.
it. Like Antifa would love it.
Anti what?
Fa.
Oh, Antifa. No.
But what's the big sacrifice? Invade the Persians.
But also the whole thing, like the crux of that entire show.
Like damn Iranians have had it too good for too long.
He is the opposite of Kevin Spacey from House of Cards. He is entirely motivated by principles.
Hell
he will
yeah.
go towards. That's what I'm saying. That's
haven't
how
seen
it's
House of
different
Cards,
from.
And you hate that guy praying at the BP. It probably is that guy.
No, I
It's probably
don't
the main
hate him.
character.
I don't hate him.
It's the Truman Show. They're just going around filming you.
It's just it's just the love, the two Islamists. That's all. It's just bizarre.
I'm not saying like
It
you
is
follow
true.
that, but I'm saying like this, watching this TV show at great length and it being so popular made me realize that we are kind of missing that aspect of it. Sometimes propaganda is kind of good. Do you remember, like,
But
I
that's
was
not
watching
true,
this-
dude. There's just fringe groups. There's a million narratives. The problem is there's too many.
He's kind of right.
but-
He's got you there. It's the long.
But what is the narrative? Give me one narrative of this idealistic society that we have today. Give me one.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I assume
What about this? Too many.
What does
cups.
Antifa want? What is their ideal
I
society?
assume anarchy.
Yeah, they want
exactly.
That.
They
want
don't
anarchy.
know what they want.
Chomsky's an anarchist.
Chomsky's an yeah, but his version of anarchy is a little different from the Antifa
That's my
version
point.
Yeah, but anarchism is also a structure. But either way,
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say is even those protesters and those like balkanized social media outlets where they're constantly propagating policies, if you really go to the brass tacks of like what sort of society you're looking at, my argument is they don't know. They don't know what they want.
Well,
That's because, dude,
that might be true.
let's just be raw about this, right? Most people throughout, like all throughout history, all throughout now, most people with the things that they're fighting for or whatever, they don't know. Do you think that the vast majority of people in Soviet Russia knew what they were fighting for?
Yeah, they
Or, like,
were
in
fighting.
Nazi
They didn't
Germany?
know
They
what.
didn't know.
They didn't know anything about like what actually was happening. But they were given a model of what they were fighting for. They were given a model that we are fighting for, even though it was completely wrong and whatever. But it was like we're gonna live in this equal society where everyone's gonna have whatever they want. They had built a fairy tale. I'm not saying that fairy tale is.
You know who the last people were to do that in Australia? Keating and Hawke. They definitely built a narrative. They built a narrative of if we keep going down this path, this was the common two phrases that really encapsulate that time. We're going to end up being the white trash of Asia, or we're going to end up being a banana republic. So we need to modernize the economy. That was the whole narrative for those last 10, 11 years. And then we need to integrate into Asia. The average Australian understood this, which is why all these oldies, even people like your parents and whatever, they're just like, hate Labor Party. But Bob Hawke, he had some good ideas and very good hair.
that's probably why they governed for such a long time.
No, I don't think that was the main reason. I think that it was because the business community understood that they didn't really have an alternative to accepting Labor's model at the time.
But they got into a position where they made the business community realize that. Anyways,
That's true. You're right.
Yeah, my point is that you need some sort of a driving force for your society to excel.
I totally
And that
agree, yeah.
the reason why the Western world
And you
is
know what?
at the
Howard actually
pinnacle
was
of
the-
the world is because they had that.
Dude, Howard was
No,
a
that's fair,
postmodernist. Huh? Howard was a postmodernist. His whole thing was the small picture and I just want you to be relaxed and comfortable. What does that mean? Just sit back and
That's
relax.
actually kind of true. It wasn't exactly like a big thinker. There was no narrative.
He never explained really a vision.
But
Yeah.
It was always just like, this big picture's kind of scary. How about
Actually,
you just sit
no.
down?
But he actually, you know what? He didn't have a narrative as such, but he was, I would argue, like the father of identity politics in a way.
Yeah,
His
he
whole
was.
narrative
He
was that we need to
illustrated it.
preserve the Australian identity,
Yes.
which is like, I
He
mean,
started the culture war.
Yeah, he's
Really?
in a way he was kind of responsible for it because that was the first time when like he kind of made in this new era where like we're living in this like extremely globalized way where like our identities are sort of disappearing. He was the one that was saying, no, there is an Australian identity. Even if you're an immigrant, you need to adopt to like this homogenous Australian identity and be part of it. It doesn't matter what race you're from as long as you believe in an identity.
But that's every country.
No,
Hey, no, that's not necessarily every country. Well,
So if
what
I
do you
moved to
mean?
Pakistan,
Explain. Pakistan has
I
Pakistan is
never
like an
expected
extremely
it.
balkanized country where there's like a million identities that are competing against one another, which is why it's
They're
a
all
third world
united by
country.
Islam.
But they're not even united by Islam.
They
Things like
are.
this Turkish drama are making them unite by Islam. They're at one point they can be united by it, but Pakistan is like not the best example. But I want you
No,
to
but all of the propaganda of the government has like a strong Islamic flavor to it. So
because that's the only force that they
That's what I'm
feel
saying.
will be able to unite it, but it hasn't been successful.
No, obviously none of
at
these things
all.
are ever going to be completely successful. But if you're looking at the different narratives around the world, that's one of
But
them. Whereas I think modern Australia, their modern narrative is cut corporate tax by 5%.
And which is not a motive which is not a
That's not a
sacrificial
narrative.
motivation. Is what I'm saying.
Well, it's pretty
get-
sacrificial, actually, but yeah.
Yeah. No, but I do get what
yeah,
you're saying in terms of like, you know, there might be a lot of like what would be considered fringe groups that like they might have like, you know, an initial reaction or initial some form of like morality. But then there's sort of don't know if there's like an end game.
There is,
like
look, because human beings are wired to be motivated by something.
Yeah.
They're wired to actually sacrifice for a greater pursuit. That's why you have this angst. People on Black Lives Matter protests. I mean, there are like legitimate issues which are causing it, but there's so many of these organizations, like you said. There clearly is a lot of angst that needs an avenue, and they're trying to express themselves in whatever way they can. But since there is such a vacuum of ideology, it ends up becoming expressed in the worst form possible, which is like extreme commodification.
What would you make the uniting thing? Hinge is not as good as Tinder.
Yeah, that could work. I don't know.
It's kind of actually what like unites us at the moment. The chicks aren't as good on Hinge.
Yeah, I really don't know what it could be because we are genuinely living in this sort of vacuum. There was this
What vacuum?
look. So after the fall of the Berlin Wall, there was this writer. Francis
Morris
Fukuyama,
Weitzman.
who wrote this book, which is like touted everywhere as like there's a lot of debate, and he called his book like the end of history. The end of history, which was a point that he was making at that point, which I'm making now. That he was saying after the fall of communism, there is a vacuum of ideology now. We don't know what we're fighting for, so we're going to end up falling into these cultural wars, which he called the clash of which. Later on, someone that complemented his theory, Samuel Huntington, called the clash of civilizations. So they kind of predicted this before. But what I'm trying to say is that if we want to excel and propel ourselves to the next stage of our civilization, we need some sort of an ideology. And my whole argument, this is what I understand, and maybe I'm like wrong about it. These are big questions that I am like too insignificant to like answer. But one of the things that I was thinking of, like in our context, is instead of basing our Australianness on things like and I know I'm gonna get like a lot
Cricket.
of like cricket or even these old, let's just say old sacrificial tales of the First World War.
Always stamping on the.
I'm sorry, but I mean, like the things that like are I think we can base it on like emancipation of our own society, like things like Medicare. I've talked about this, where something of that sort, where we have where our ideology can be literally based on helping others, if that makes sense, or helping our society in general.
I mean, I think everyone.
What about? Sorry, you
I
go.
was just gonna say, I think most people in Australia, like, you know, agree that Medicare is like an epic thing.
That's why I'm saying it, because I wouldn't need to sell it as much. Yeah.
Why don't
Most
we just
people
sell
already
it as-
realize it.
Come on, just kill two birds with one stone here. Nature.
Hey,
Selling point, Australia's unique nature. Just make one of those weeping willows in Centennial Park or whatever, one of those animatronic puppets in Lord of the Rings of an ent, and make that the Prime Minister from now on.
Yeah.
Or just that, the Prime Minister changes of being the puppeteer, being like, the ent has spoken. There will be a Gonski 3.0.
yes. And then we changed the national anthem to "Where the bloody hell are ya?" That ad.
Just the ad?
Yeah, just the
With
ad.
that crap didgeridoo going,
Yeah.
Right, mad. I'm all up.
Paradise.
It really was true. This is not the realm for Ali. He's too small time for this. And me and Mislav have that handled. You gave us a problem, we solved it.
No, but like I think I do. You do have a point. Like there needs to be.
But come on, how much better is Australia's nature as a
absolutely.
morphing thing than
There's so many
Medicare?
things.
I kind of don't care what it is, as long as there's one.
There sort of has to be.
But you think it should be Medicare?
That's my view on it. I'm just saying that there needs to be something.
yeah,
We can't live in this vacuum where I think.
I mean,
that would
Ali,
lead
there
us
are
eventually
things.
to dark ages.
There are things.
Would
It's
you
just-
be
like-
offended if it was fatty? from the footy show. That was the,
Like I said,
how is someone so old with such orange hair?
I would just prefer if it wasn't like Nazism or something. Like it would really help if it wasn't based on like killing another minority or something. But it
No, but that's. I mean, it could actually get pretty heavy-handed because I'm pretty sure Fatty's whole philosophy was just like, right, fuck Panthers. What else would he talk about?
The Panthers, you mean?
Huh?
The Penrith Panthers?
Yeah, there.
the footy team.
I'll just fuck
is
Panthers.
getting too
and the
meta.
zoo. Yeah, I'm sick of them. They could be used as a mascot. Lynch them. That's his point. Fuck Panthers, the team. Hang Panthers.
Yeah. I don't think Australia is probably the first country to be like a Nazi country.
What do you mean?
Well,
What do you mean?
Like you were saying.
Australia never was a Nazi country.
Yeah, but you know, you just said like. You just
Oh,
threw
I'm
out
just saying.
Nazi.
I just prefer that ideology to be like not something like Nazism, where like it's based on persecution of minorities.
Do you want it to
But
be
if it ends
communism?
up being that, whatever.
No, we
Got the
tried that and we failed as well. The 20th
You're
century.
right, though. That is what humans were hardwired for. I'm going to say the most podcast point ever, but have you read *Sapiens*?
I haven't actually, but I've heard it's good. Seriously.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
It's actually really good.
Yeah, I know.
I know, like it's been touted as like this like book that it's like, but it's a really good book.
Humans ate leaves once.
You're making me want to read it again.
Please read it. Just it's not.
Why is it good? Why is it
Yeah,
good?
look,
Why is it
we're
good?
on Twitch. Everyone here has read it, or they're just playing the audio book at the moment.
But give us
of
the
them
key-
saying war has always perpetuated innovation.
Oh, is that the point you're making?
No, well, that's one of them. No, but the point that I was saying is that he was saying that the thing that actually makes humans human beings is that they kind of get together on imaginary things.
Yeah,
that they
of
can
course.
find ways to unite larger groups of themselves.
Well, that's what
through-
creativity is, right? Huh? And imagining a.
No, but other animals have creativity.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like,
No,
that's
it's like
what
it's really
creativity is.
it's like really basic. Like his example was the biggest story of all is money. The fact that you have given this
Yeah,
thing,
and
like you
imagine-
can like take a
Yeah.
piece of paper and go to the markets and get a banana
Yeah.
out of it, which is something tangible.
It's a
So
wild-
like it's crazy because the only way that is able to hold it is because we all believe in it. Which is so his example of
Shatter it tomorrow.
What do you think about like his theory of like what is actually real? Do you remember? Because he says
No,
Yuval Harari
please.
says like anything that suffers is actually real.
Huh?
Because his point was like because we all need these stories to like live. To determine what is a story and what's not a story, his example was like if it suffers, it's not a story, it's a real thing.
Holy shit. So DJ Khaled is right. He is the realist. As he has that album, Suffering from Success.
Oh, fuck. Take that,
You heard
Twitch.
that song?
Take that,
Have you
Twitch.
heard what?
No, I just automatically thought of that story where he was on a jet ski and he got lost and he was live streaming. He was like, yo, man, I'm lost. I'm shipwrecked, yo. Yo, if my
DJ
manager's
Khaled, the
listening.
Joel Turner of America.
my
It's so, and, like just because of the sheer population, billionaire.
If my manager's listening, man, and I go listen and I go missing, drop my album. Drop my album, man. I think so, something like that. I don't care, man. If I'm gonna die, I don't want to die. Drop it for me.
That's actually really funny. Just like billionaire on his jet ski getting lost on the wave. Just,
That is a suffering from success.
yeah, that's DJ
Getting
Khaled
lost on
is
a
real.
jet ski
That's how you
in
know.
Miami.
That's how you
but
know
what-
he's a real entity in those stories.
So good that I'm loud. Oh no, hang on. There's a shoreline.
So if you have a negative experience, that's the only real one. Is that what you're saying?
No, I think so. Like his example was that. So, for example, like they say after the war, Germany suffered the most, and then he's saying was like, did it suffer? Was Germany hurt? It's Germans, the people that exist within Germany that
yeah,
suffer. So he was
yeah.
saying. Germany itself is a story that we've built around. The people that individually lost their lives, they are tangible because they
Yeah.
genuinely suffered.
Yeah.
It's a very Buddhist way of looking at it, but that's his theory. And he's also like the author is like really into meditation and shit. You kind of like his outlook.
Yeah, I should check
But
it out.
anyway, so that was like my take on what I got out of watching this Turkish soap opera.
So what's your prediction? What are your predictions?
What is this? ABC's
My-
book club?
Just quickly, your predictions for the West and your predictions for the East. Shoot.
I mean, look, it is.
In a sentence.
It's. I think there's going to be a rise of the rest, not fall of the West, but a rise of the rest.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Which is
Rise
like,
of
and
the
and that's what I'm saying. Like this Turkish drama, even though on the surface it's propagandist, it's actually a really good stepping stone for building a society that is able to sacrifice itself for a greater pursuit.
We had that. McLeod's Daughters.
Back in the day,
Hey, it might be coming back.
Actually, what was that song?
Your wish has been fulfilled, darling.
What's the song that goes?
Ship to shore. Of course. The shit round the twist.
Come
Yes.
on. If that doesn't unite the country, then I'm done being Australian.
That's so good. Our sound guy's nodding.
Where is he? Yeah, thank you.
Finally, someone says it.
Let the revolution will be televised and it'll be on ABC4.
No, Channel 9.
Channel 9.
Go. Let's be honest.
Yes, it'll be on Go. In between MasterChef and
MASH.
no one.
MasterChef.
Ship to Revolution.
That's sad. No one is buying Revolution. Go has to take. Can we move on to our next segment, Jordan?
Do it.
It's the.
What is it with this show? Fucking. Why is Australia obsessed with shows about lighthouses?
I don't know.
I
Actually,
looked at
Ship
show
to
up
shore,
after
round the
that day.
twist,
did you?
sea change. Huh?
he said he looked the show up.
Yeah, the show that
Round the twist?
that I got the question wrong. Around
Round the twist.
They do live
What'd
in a
you think?
lighthouse.
Yeah.
And the font
is the
goes
kid
around
fatty?
the lighthouse every time.
Did you listen to the whole intro?
No.
Oh,
No,
dude.
I did listen to the whole intro.
How good is it? How it goes, going round the twist.
I don't know why that show was big.
Whoa.
Look, to be honest, neither do I. There was
I
some
do.
really scary
I
puppets.
know
in that.
why. It was the perfect show. It was entertaining. It was
The
scary.
sister was hot.
It was the sister was hot. It was very Australiana, and it had a lot of that cheap. The budget was cheap, so it was kind of like approachable, like something when the bullies like put spaghetti on the kid's head, it'd be like whap whap wow. What else do you want from a show?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
The dad had Daryl Braithwaite's haircut. And look, the thing is, I think it was just law that back in the 80s and the 90s, both I think, wasn't it?
Oh well, I don't know. What are you gonna say? Sorry.
Aficionados help us out. But yeah, I do think that was a huge part of it. It was just like, that was a great insight into how people that are in the arts dressed in the 90s and 80s, and it was way less wanky than now.
cool.
You had to have a curly-haired mullet and wear really itchy jumpers.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you weren't an artist in Australia.
Yeah, it was cool.
Straight up.
But to be fair, Ali, from not like you didn't grow up in Australia, and like I can understand why you're like, what the fuck is this shit? I'll like extend an olive branch there, you know.
Nah, yeah, you've got to like, you've got to really be a kid to enjoy it. I understand.
Or you have to have seen it when you were a kid. you
Yeah.
know?
All right. Can we move on to your segment, which is 90s movie? Well, go on, introduce.
Yeah.
Wait,
All right.
what?
This is the new segment. Remember that? That was good. I liked that. Can we bring that back?
Damn, so that was just like a pre.
Wait, what are we
little
bringing back?
That was just a preview to your segment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now here it is. Fellas, rap with me here. Surely the greatest film genre of all time is 90s teen romps. There's nothing better than American Pie, Euro Trip. I'll even extend an olive branch to those spoof movies like Scary Movie and the other one that was called like I Sort of Know What You Did Last
Dude,
Summer.
as long as like the movie had a few tits in it, it was good enough.
Had to happen.
Hot tits.
And
I'm sick of all these fat gingers getting their tits out these days. Stop it.
who are you talking about?
I don't know. Just every show that you see now is just like ever since that show Girls was on HBO or something like that. They're like, yeah,
yeah.
this. It's like, no, I don't want that.
I love you guys. It's so funny just rewatching like stuff.
No one won't that. Anyways, yeah, I've seen them.
What?
Damn.
Those
I love that
tits
this is
from
the
girls,
ABC.
dude.
Huh?
I just love that we're not in the ABC because you could not say that.
Yeah, I know.
I can't imagine something
wouldn't
worse
even-
than Lena Dunham.
You just go.
You get no. You get bleeped like
Straight
weeks
away.
before and then
Yeah.
taken into a commission.
Yeah,
fight.
yeah,
But the
commission.
truth needs to be told.
And in prison.
Nadia from American Pie was hot.
No complaints here.
Yeah.
Oh wait, was she the one that was like foreign or something?
Yes.
She was the
Yeah.
one- yeah.
And Jason Biggs super gluing his hand to his cock was funny.
it
With
was
crazy-
the funniest thing.
With
you have ever-
Alien Ant Farm playing in the background.
Thank you.
You would look forward to that. Like, how often do you now get like a movie that you're like really, really looking forward to watch. When those teen movies came out and I had to like go rent them out, like I couldn't wait for nighttime when my parents slept because just in case the titch came up at the wrong time. Like,
Yeah.
I was genuinely excited to watch Euro Trip, Road Trip.
Yeah.
Those days where you knew you had to do something with your peen, but not what to do.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, it's still exciting. Look, I'm gonna give you.
Yeah, you didn't
The
know
good
how
old
to-
days,
you
am I
didn't know
right?
how to masturbate.
I'm gonna like play the hipster card and give it like second place to like 90s sci-fi. I'm sorry.
What? Which
What?
ones? What, Andromeda?
Blade Runner?
Matrix. What else was there?
And who could forget
The Matrix
Ghost
2.
Ship?
Oh, you know what was mad? Event Horizon. That was sick. I had to watch
You
that.
know what, though?
I watched that in year 6.
Yeah.
With
Was it better than The Naked Mile?
what the hell?
Well, the Naked Mile was naughties, and the answer is no. But
But I had to watch that in year 6, and it scared the living daylights out of me.
and you know what's even scarier? That's not even. Jesus, now we're getting into real hipster territory. Jesus, the red fern is starting to take over me after being here for like 6 weeks. But jeez,
We're inside.
that's not your full version.
Okay, sorry.
But the full version, you know those like little torture scenes that they cut up in,
Oh, they're brutal.
and that TV execs. Apparently, this is the whole thing. Every dude with a film degree always says, "That's the greatest film that never was." So
Really?
the version that you're seeing is a completely bastardized version of what the execs saw, but they were just like,
What?
"This is a bit naughty. I think I saw a cooch." So they cut out like a third of the movie.
Really?
Yeah, so it's completely different.
Holy shit. So that movie would have been like the most fucked up movie of all time.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have made a Serbian film look like, Barbie Princess Adventures.
I'm kind of glad that it was cut.
Why?
Because that would have been really, like, it would have been too much. Don't you think? Or you just wanted the snuff film. You wanted it all out.
I don't want to personally watch it, but I feel sorry for all those guys that have a $40,000 hex to basically sit there with some skinny cunt that's got shaved head and those square glasses going, "Okay, today we're going to be watching The Matrix 2. It's not as bad as what you think it is."
And he has a point.
What?
He has a point. The Matrix 2 isn't as bad as
What about the third one?
the third one.
Put on Ali's glasses, you are.
The third one was as bad as the third one sucked. I like the second one. Sorry to turn it to Margaret and
I don't
David.
remember if I watched the second one. I've seen the first one. It was pretty boss.
Come on, you can back me.
But it's
Reloaded
still
was
not
dope.
like. But I still like. I'm gonna go back to it.
No,
it's still
because
not
both
good
times
enough.
I just saw there and I was like, am I just seeing double of Torbs from high school? why is there guys?
Why is that a bad
dreads?
thing? Where's the negative there?
And too much Hugo Weaving. One
negative-
is enough.
Yeah, I'll pay that. It wasn't amazing. I'm not saying it was amazing. I'm just saying it's the equivalent of like Tekken, but it's a movie, and I like Tekken, so I enjoy the movie. It's not a great story, but the fight scenes are fucking sick. And
It's
how
no
just, like,
screwballs.
See, it's very obvious that you don't have a $40,000 hex in film because every time you ever talk to them, they're just like, actually, it was pretty revolutionary. I can't remember
Oh,
the reasons
really?
why. And also on top of that, film buffs in the comments, please don't educate me on that. I really don't.
No, do it. The fact that they have that song that went doo digga-doo, 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 doo, doo, was revolutionary for 2001.
Was it 2001?
I don't know. No, it probably was. Well, 98 was the first one.
That's right. Yep.
I don't know. Anyway.
Back in the days. But look, okay, I will say that 90s sci-fi, it's definitely up there.
Come on.
No,
Okay, fine. Well,
okay,
agree
just
to
think about this.
disagree.
Okay, when you
We'll
left, I
agree to-
suppose that's kind of true. You did leave The Matrix purely because fucking Wayne's World guy, can't remember his name.
Wayne's World guy? Wait a
You know,
second.
the
Mike
main
Myers?
That character.
Oh,
Yeah, Austin Powers.
No,
Oh shit! Yeah. Anyway, look. The point is,
Keanu Reeves?
Keanu
He's not
Reeves.
in Wayne's World. You're talking about fucking that other movie he did where it's like
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures. Yeah, that's
bingo. And I'm very upset that the production team didn't say anything about that because that's. Are you even producers if you don't know that movie? Shrek. Anyway, go on. Now there's a sequel that killed it.
Yeah, no, look, I do understand that once you left The Matrix, as a 12-year-old, you thought because he said, I know jujitsu, you knew jujitsu. It was.
Oh,
you
yes.
actually really did leave The Matrix watching that film as a
Yeah.
preteen.
Yeah, my mum
But
told me.
where
to
was
say-
the boner? That's what I'm saying. Where was the fat?
Yeah, I don't think there were any. I basically got a boner when that was like guns, lots of guns. That was basically a boner moment for me.
No
but-
wonder you love America so much. Even Ali, who lives in a land where it's just like, yeah, you can take an AK to the airport. Why not?
Here, have a German Shepherd. What? Just take one, man. We've got like 10. But yeah, like, dude, I will say, I mean, yeah, those rom-com, like,
You want to smoke in this baby's ward?
like the amount of,
Okay, $2 Australian.
It is pretty crazy. It's the only place where like you walk into a restaurant and they still ask you questions like, "You want smoking area or non-smoking area?"
Stop trying
That's
to
what was
convert
so
me.
sick about walking into Pakistan. Every upper class restaurant that you walked into, it was just like, is this just the set of Friends?
Stop
It's
trying to.
mad.
You're just converting me right now because that's dope.
They do love their friends. Dude, I reckon like Friends taught me English, so I'm not gonna pay it out. But anyway,
No, I did really like that because I think that was the height of civilization, was every one of those sick movies from the late 80s to I guess the mid 90s where any successful man had gel in his hair and it wasn't cunty. You know how only dickheads wear heaps of no offense, Ali. Holy shit, he's got it all.
it's not gel.
And he's got the exact hair.
It's not gel, it's wax. There's a difference. Cool people use wax, dickheads use gel.
He's not wrong. That extra wet look.
Yeah,
I'm sick of it.
Neo, right? Isn't that Neo?
Look, I'm just going to nod my head and say, I know what you're talking about. Neo.
The main
No, the guy
character of
from-
the movie.
Keanu Reeves.
Fuck. Mike Myers, right? Shrek?
Mike Myers. Come on.
Oh,
remake of
hey.
The Matrix with Mike Myers. No, let's do it.
I would not pay for it, but I'd see it.
Me too.
Aren't they remaking The Matrix?
Don't you think that that'd be a really unfortunate little did you know under the Wikipedia that it's just like, this is the most viewed film of all time. Unfortunately, it flopped in the box office. Everyone would legally download that or watch it on a plane.
The Matrix, what would they call it? It doesn't matter. The Myers.
Oh, behave.
Wait, so our consensus is that those comedy
They're still
I'm
good.
just saying, I
Weren't a good-
really liked leaving cinemas with a boner and feeling happy.
You
What's
actually
wrong with
walked
that?
out with a boner? No.
Yeah, dude.
Wait, how were you
Stand
able to
by,
watch them at
Nadia
the
is
cinemas?
still the hottest chick I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, but you
Dude,
didn't.
at that age, she was
I know, but you-
incredibly like I came with
Olivia?
that guy in that movie.
I know I'm
Of
dealing,
course you did.
I know I'm dealing with.
Jeez, you probably did it right now, though.
Oopsie daisy.
So true. Just being like, oh no, somebody didn't put a dress on those tripods.
It's kind of hack.
Mimicking a dog.
Tripod. Big dicks.
All right, wait, have you exhausted this? Should we move on to the next segment or
I
what?
guess we can, but guys, can we just pay this? Look, everyone in this room, are we on board with this? That 90s romps were mad, and I'm sick of all these new romps.
Yes,
It's just this
yes.
kind of like, is that racist to say? I don't know. I feel kind of like, isn't teenagers like awkward? Yes, it's awkward, but it's awkward because there's supposed to be shots of like some MILF getting changed and you beating off in the bushes and them spotting you.
Yep.
That's what's supposed to be awkward in movies about
Can
it.
we also like appreciate the fact that American Pie coined the term MILF?
Really?
Yeah.
I was watching this interview of a very well-known porn star who was saying that
course
she
you
was
were.
like she
Intellectual.
Damn,
legitimate
Islamist and porn star interviewer connoisseur.
Turkish soap operas and MILF porn, my staple.
Jesus. Communist.
like all
hardened
Islamists.
Yeah, like so she was talking about like how she was in porn and she was like big, and then all of a sudden like no one gave a shit about her because she got older, and then the American Pie movie came out, and then all of a sudden MILFs were trending again, and
Damn.
she now has like a lot of money because of that.
Saved a career,
Yeah.
made Alien Ant Farm a distant memory in everyone's head.
Taught
Gave
like at
Hamish
least
and Andy a segment for like
Let's be honest, a
years of
career.
he kind of looks like Jason Biggs.
Yeah, a career.
and also
let's be
like
honest.
let's not forget like a huge population became men after watching those movies.
Exactly.
That's kind of true, man. No, look, I'm not downplaying the significance of those movies.
The only downside was graduating in year 12 and going, hey, this wasn't at all like American Pie.
How come I'm still a virgin? It's gonna be uni. Hey, I'm graduating from uni. Why am I still a virgin?
Wait, so you expected to leave school and some naked chick to walk up and be like, do you need a hand with that?
Yes, I expected that. And I also expected you to be Stifler and being like, dude, stop perving on my mom. And let's be honest, he is Stifler.
You are Stifler.
Oh, God. So it was the same.
It was the same, really. Yeah, it was.
All right, let's move on to the next one. Jordan, do you want to do yours, which is the Senate, or do you want to do my innovation
yours?
one?
Okay, let's save your innovation one because this is probably going to be pretty short-lived. But before we get into that, it's time for Koshi's 11-step money plan. No, you escaped it too long. You're going to get some medicine.
Hold up,
for
I got to
once.
do this now. It's the Bible.
Of course, yeah. Where's your respect? On the carpet with you.
On the carpet,
Specially
do it proper.
ordained. Did you know you should chop up your credit card?
Also, save time by praying in front of a BP. Cut your praying time by a third.
Make sure you have a BP card.
Hey, I wonder if I'm just going to get a fatwa for doing that.
You will, but it's okay.
Yeah, well, then I'll see who my real
All right.
friends are.
We start for no reason at step 5 because this really is the Bible. It's just you open it up, boom, wisdom,
Yeah.
right? Step 5, grow your income.
Finally.
How do you grow your income? Well, here's the first.
Yeah, this isn't funny to me. This is just like, I'm like, yeah, go on, mate. I'm listening.
Wait.
Actually, I probably shouldn't say this there because I am your boss. The first one is,
Oh, here we go.
ask your boss for a pay rise.
Hey, I never thought of that, Kosh. Cheers. Yeah, he is
You
my
definitely
boss.
haven't.
No, I never have. That's epic. That's it, Jordan. Can I have an extra $2.50 an hour? $2.50. Damn.
No. Okay, well,
Is that really
You
what?
tried.
Is that really? Go on.
how can you get more money coming in? When anyone ever talks about building wealth and getting their money under control, they always focus on the household budget and cutting costs. They seem to forget about the other side, the income bit. Focusing on only cutting costs can be horrible. Earning more income could be a better option and might not be as hard as you think. This is all about earning more cash by 1, grabbing hold of a career opportunity that may come your way. Very vague. Okay,
So vague. This is some like turn of the century America shit. Like, you should pursue your dreams. They didn't work out. Then pursue them further.
This reminds me of the most uttered anecdote of ours, which is Larry King's life. Of the start of his
Yeah, give me that,
broadcast
please.
career.
This is my favorite thing in the world.
Look, if you thought that 11-step money plan was filled with wisdom, read Larry King's biography. It starts off with him going, I started my career in a Miami radio station. It was very easy to get a job back then. I asked and said, can I have a job? And the radio manager said, how about breakfast?
That's kind of like
that
Lithgow,
incredible?
actually.
It is like Lithgow. You're right.
Yeah, true.
Very.
All right, it does exist, but
does exist.
it's not Miami.
Yeah. And also,
One of the largest markets on earth.
and also, he probably.
Like,
would've been-
isn't Miami like most people only know Spanish in Miami, right?
Well, yeah, that would significantly shrink it. So he was probably talking to the only people that speak English here, which I'm assuming are just retired Jews from Brooklyn that made it good, right?
'cause
That'd be
that's
the only
like
people.
The entire
No.
demographic.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Anyway, so he's in there. And he goes, I'll never forget my first break. I was on air, the music stopped, and the microphone said on air. I said nothing for 3 minutes. It then clicked off air, and my manager kicked the door down and said, this is a communications medium. It was the best advice I ever got.
What does that mean, though? I don't know what that
He
means.
said,
You just
talk.
heard the greatest story
Wait,
of all time.
of course, it's radio.
I know.
You just heard the greatest story of all. That should be in the Quran right there. Chapter 1.
It is a community.
Jews aren't that bad after all.
Dude, that story is. That's how I just. You know what it reminds me of? You know the thing in The Simpsons where it's like, it was a different time back then. The streets were paved with gold.
Yeah.
And it was like, literally. And then a car's driving goes. because the streets are made of gold. Do you know what I mean? Like that whole
That's
turn of the
70s
century thing.
America.
Like it's amazing that you could just walk in someone and be like, I fancy myself, I don't know, like anything. Just like, I fancy myself a computer analyst. Do you know anything about computers? I seen that movie, Wall Street, you hired, start Monday. Next year, I was a millionaire. It was quite fun. And now it's just like, I have 3 double degrees. I'm a lawyer and a doctor. Could I get an entry-level, what are those things called? Like where you just work for nothing?
Jobs.
No.
Internship.
And then they're just sort of like, yeah, there's a 3-year waiting list for that internship. It's like,
Yeah.
can we like balance it out a bit?
Yeah.
That guy walked into a radio station.
In a major market.
This is a communications
Yeah,
medium.
I never thought about.
Then I bought some
That's what makes a good broadcast.
Yeah, I thought I'd jazz up my look, so I got my first check and bought some suspenders, and then I never changed that look for half a century, and now I'm one of the richest
I also
men in
always
America.
looked like a stewed prune, even at 17.
And then also like it's like, and I've still managed to get to the end of my
I
career.
haven't changed the way I look since 1925.
I know, and I wasn't born then.
I haven't learned the basic principle
when I
of
didn't exist, and
interviewing.
we're just a bunch of randomized atoms across the universe. All of those atoms had tiny suspenders.
But I never understood why that guy has so much respect.
Me neither.
He's not that smart.
he
He's like not
asks
politically
questions?
savvy. Yeah.
No, he's terrible.
His questions are often very dumb.
I know, and
all the
vague.
time. All the time. I think-
How are you going?
yeah, but about
But
the
not even
Seinfeld
that,
thing.
it's like-
So you got cancelled, right? Dude, Wikipedia your guests before they come.
Can you stop being Jerry Seinfeld's advocate for everything?
Can you stop hating on the best show ever made?
But like, how have you
Hey,
seen
this though,
video,
Larry
though?
King is funnier than Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah, I agree with that. 100%. Dude, Larry David is
As
like
a character, maybe.
It's the golden age of broadcasters is over. As soon as Larry King and Bill O'Reilly were retired for various indiscretions.
Hey, Larry King wasn't part of that train. He wasn't.
No,
like-
but he quit, and he shouldn't be. It should be
But then he
more that he's
started doing
still
some-
sitting on CNN in an iron lung, and even when he's dead, they should capture his soul at that minute where like your body just gets 7
Yeah.
pounds lighter.
Yeah,
or
it
something.
just goes-
Yeah, and just put it in a jar, put him back on there. Welcome back to Larry King. Today's show will be on Why Won't You Let Me Die?
is he still on? Is he still on like that?
Russia Today?
Yeah, Russia Today. Is he
think
still
so.
doing that?
He's on Russia. Larry King's on that.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
quit CNN. He went to Russia Today.
Finally, the big topics. Putin, nice guy or the nicest guy?
But you know what? Like Russia Today is actually way more transparent than most other channels.
I know.
That's
so, I
bizarre.
love Russia
Because-
Today. All it says
Yeah.
is, and it's so good of Putin to do this as well, is like you can be as critical as you like of
Everything
the US.
or
I want you
everyone.
to be really critical of the
Yeah.
US. Anything you want. Just show pictures of me kicking ass in judo. which
Yeah,
is
because,
not
like-
technically
yeah.
inaccurate. He does kick ass at
Does
it.
that really exist in America?
What?
Yeah.
Wouldn't he be considered like? Wouldn't like the population of America consider like anyone on that show to be like a pinko sellout?
They do.
They do,
but
which is like extremely wrong.
they
because
can't get
don't
rid
trust,
of it.
Yeah,
because
Yeah.
if they wanted to get rid of it, they'd have to get rid of their
CNNs and
Freedom
shit.
of Information Bill or whatever it is.
No, not even
how
that.
come,
Like,
like-
dude, there's American channels in every country. You can't get rid of another channel based.
No,
on
I
the fact
understand
you
that,
don't
but like I'm
it.
surprised that he hasn't been like lynched yet.
Who? Larry King.
Yeah, he got, dude. The propaganda model worked. He is not considered a nice guy anymore
Yeah, right.
because he did Russia. But that's like Jordan is right, dude. If you're watching Russia Today, just kind of ignore what they're saying about Russia. But everything
believe that
else is
exists.
way more transparent.
But like like imagine the situation if it was like New York City Today and like the Kremlin, like that wouldn't exist. There wouldn't be a show. There wouldn't be an American-funded TV station in Russia being like, "Yo,
What do you mean?
There's nowhere to get a good bagel in goddamn Moscow."
They have it. You
that's
get CNN
majority
in
of channels.
Russia.
They've got CNN.
No,
they've
I'm
got
talking
BBC.
about yeah, but they're filmed in Russia, right?
Yeah, they've got like the CNN.
Filmed-
I'm
it's
not sure
filmed in
like if they
Russia?
have. They have like like you know how BuzzFeed is a global organization, but there's BuzzFeed Australia as
Yeah.
well.
I'm sure
Channels
CNN
have
has
like
that.
shit everywhere.
Really, in Russia.
Probably.
There's BBC Hindi, there's BBC Turkish, there's BBC Urdu. They come to like they go to different countries.
Yeah,
there's
right.
channels like the thing is like America should
Yeah, but
say
Russia
that because
today
like
isn't
most
Vice.
channels.
Russia today isn't Vice. Do you know what I'm saying?
It's better than Vice.
I'm not saying it's worse. I'm just saying it's very overtly Russian.
But so is but CNN and like and they are all overtly American too.
I know, but I just didn't know that they
I
were
don't know if
filming
gets
it
any
in
more
Russia.
overt than a huge digital flag waving in the back.
Yeah, but I don't
Yeah.
think they're filming it in that big Tsarist temple, dude. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, look, for all maybe Anna Corrin is sitting in there actually
I don't
filming
think
Hong
she
Kong
is.
today.
What do you mean? I'm not sure what you're saying.
It's such a simple concept. Russia today is filmed in New York, right?
Yes, part of it, not all of it, because it's a major channel in Russia. So most of it is filmed in Moscow.
Yeah, but what's his face isn't going to Moscow? Larry King.
Yeah, because he's sitting in the American. Every channel
is
has
there-
outposts in different countries.
I know, but is there like CNN Russia, filmed in Russia? Is there something like that?
I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was. Because it's a
Interesting.
giant organization. Well, CNN used to be in every fucking country back in the day. And Russia would
Right.
have it as well.
Yeah.
After like the communist whatever. But I don't know if they now, because CNN is like dying. So it's not because Russia isn't allowing it, but because CNN is a shit channel.
Right, yeah. It's just interesting. I didn't know about that. It's just it seems like such a
Yeah, I'd imagine just Putin is personally funding it.
Russia Today.
Probably.
Yeah, the government of Russia. He isn't.
The government of Russia is, or
Dude,
he is?
Russia Today is basically ABC. We do the same thing. ABC is a government-funded channel.
but in America.
No, in Australia.
No. Russia today is okay. So
And
Russia
Fiji.
today. Russia today is basically
Flexing
in
that
America.
soft
It's
power.
a German.
Based in Russia,
Yeah,
but
no,
it
I get
has
it, I
a
get it.
studio in America
Yeah.
as well.
No. I think I'm understanding a little bit more now. Yeah, it's not.
All
just
right, well, that was 20 minutes of the pod.
So
yeah.
we are out of time.
Glad
No
we got
less-
there. We're out of time now.
no less stupid than talking about what's the name's tits.
All right, let me just.
Dude, like I think like I'm just gonna like I always say this, and it's just don't be. Everything is propaganda. Everything is biased.
Well, dude, I mean,
And
Russia's
so-
not exactly the superpower anymore, so it's like whatever.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What would Russia?
Say, look, Mislav's finally come around that it's really good that Putin's spreading his message. So
Well, no,
he's on
it's
our
not
side.
that. It's just like the
Yeah,
Cold
everyone
War's
is-
over.
No, that's what it is. Thank you.
The extremists. And what would you say about Osama bin Laden again?
Hero.
Yeah. Moving on. Hopefully no one's family was
extensively
killed.
covered the two big
Yeah,
issues.
hopefully no one's
20
family.
minutes into why is Russia Today filmed in New York, and then just one word on Osama bin Laden. There's my thoughts. Thank you very much. Let's move on to
Not my
The
thoughts.
Senate should be abolished. Change my mind.
Why do you think it should be abolished though?
Because
Oh,
it's
God.
inefficient and stupid.
He has a reason. Do you want, tell him the reason? It's a good
Look,
reason.
okay, first off, you know that all the Labor parties in all the states before Federation and decades after Federation as well were trying to abolish senates.
Yeah, they tried to do that.
All the legislative councils in all the different states. And
In fact, they
used
were
to do-
they were there. They were very close to doing it, but the High Court overruled. Anyways, yeah, but you're right. There've been a lot of
They
efforts
used to construct suicide squads. They get people elected to legislative councils in states, and then when those suicide squads went in there, they just went, chairs are pretty comfy, yeah. And then they wouldn't abolish themselves.
But Jordan,
Only ones-
you're thinking of like a Labour government being in control and being a majority in the parliament, so they're able to enact good legislation which will benefit Australia. Here's a flip version of it. There's a Liberal government which is going crazy, and it's like been taken a hostage.
What he wants to do is he wants to make abolish the Senate so that the libs can go crazy here, so that they fuck shit up so badly.
Now we're talking. That's a
Yeah,
little
I knew you'd be on
That's a
board
little
with this.
commie.
Ali is on this train.
No, I'm not on
Abolish
this
the
train.
Senate.
damn
I am
commies!
pro. I am
Surrounded by
pro.
commies.
No, I am not on that train.
You are on that
too, I
train.
bet.
You are on it. They've done it in Queensland. Why is Labor in power most of the time in a state that is thoroughly liberal? It's the most liberal state there is, and yet at a state level, it's a Labor government, despite all the papers being against the Labor Party.
I think it's also
And it
there's
takes a
lot
lot
of-
for them to vote in the LNP, and then when the LNP's in, it's in for one term, not three.
Okay, I am not like you understand Australian policy a lot more than me. However, I think that there's a lot of people in this country that are not comfortable with having a Labor government at the federal level, but are comfortable in having Labor government at a state level.
I don't think that's
These
true.
are the same people that, I think that a lot of people in Queensland vote for Liberal for federal and vote Labor for state. And this is usually after Liberals
Yes, but you know
having
why?
some time in government and fucking shit over. Here's another one. Eventually, Queensland's going to switch over and go to Liberal because
Yes,
it's
but
just
it'll
a
only
fucking-
be in for a term.
Yeah.
Because,
Really?
okay, look, they had the gerrymandering in the Joh Bjelke-Petersen era. But that was extremely corrupt and was basically the closest thing that Australia's ever had to a dictatorship. And as soon as they were able to smash that, you know, just pretty much just a red wash every election. And yes, Campbell Newman absolutely obliterated the Labor Party in one election. What happened in the election afterwards? Voted out. Back to where it should be. I am quite confident that a state Labor government will get a third term in Queensland.
Really?
Despite the fact that in the last election, Murdoch bought every paper in Queensland.
Wow, that's pretty
And
astounding.
I think it is because, and there's a reason that the LNP are known as the Taliban party of all Australian parties.
Fact.
If you like the Taliban.
I think.
Oh,
to
he
this
got
moment-
you there.
Yeah, fake. They are not the Taliban, okay? They couldn't
You know
get
what's
to that
crazy
level.
though? If
They
there
are-
was a choice between a Taliban party and the LNP, I'd still vote Taliban. I would.
I wouldn't
I think it's a
expect
better
any-
society.
But I think like
Because don't you think that they would protect the Great Barrier Reef? Because like, it is a Muslim tradition to put a baby turtle into the ocean.
I think it's like
not,
page
not
4.
necessarily. I think I'm going to side with Miss Love on this one, dude. They can also do pretty crazy shit.
But not as crazy as tax cuts to stadiums.
Unbelievable.
That is crazy. But like, okay, so you're thinking, I understand where you're coming from, but you gotta like think of like grand scheme of things. Like,
But that is the
think about,
grand
like
scheme.
200 years. Do you think like Labour Party is always going to be the best party ever? Don't
Yes.
you technically want checks and balances in your
No.
government?
No,
No, I understand what he's saying.
first of all, democracy's overrated. Second off, all that ends up happening with the Senate is the Liberals just stay in power. They make all the legislation. It goes to Senate. It just gets debated ad nauseum for 3 years. Nothing gets done. They just keep passing it back down to the lower house, and they're making all of these bullshit amendments to appease a bunch of crazies.
Yeah.
Because that's like really, when it comes to a Senate, your democracy is at the hands of just a couple of senile people that are just elected over and over again because a few churches want them there. It's not democratic, really.
That's brutal.
It's
No,
true.
look, or it's just like big business, like the whores of big business, right?
Well, when it comes to the upper house in most of these places, not really.
It's just like
A lot of the time, it's just these weirdo fundamentalists, like family first.
Yeah, right.
I wear my pants up here, and that's why he gets voted in.
Sometimes it's actually. Sometimes
So
like
many weird. Look, I think that there are people in the Senate that look. I will actually vouch for Pauline Hanson. I think that she is an honest woman. She actually believes what she says. You know, I admire that authenticity. Okay, she thinks the Great Barrier Reef is fine.
That's
That's a
insane.
bit troubling, and it's scary that she's there. But I think at the end of the day, you can negotiate with her. Usually not on environmental matters, but when it comes to unions and stuff, she'll go out onto the televisions and stuff and say,
back them.
the unions are taking over. But really, when unions get into her ear and say you don't want to pass, this union busting bill, she'll vote against it.
Same with Jackie
Landy.
Landy.
She's the same.
Yeah.
Xenophon's party, they're kind of crap, but they're not bad. But there is a bunch of weirdos that are there, like your David Leonhelms, that Family First clown. And actually, no, I'm changing my mind. I'm putting it back into those. Xenophon's weird centrist alliance party. These are the people that are holding democracy. 2 or 3 people with these very niche views that are just getting all these weird concessions to all of their special interests that aren't even big business most of the time.
you do make a compelling argument over there.
You do.
Because I was actually just like, and you guys tell me more about this, but I was reading that in the 90s there was some like massive drought in southeast Queensland that lasted for 8 years. And what they did was like during that drought, they came up with these legislations that was to avoid something of this sort. One of them was like installing like desalination plants and trying to have the capacity to cater to most of Queensland, pumping water from the Northern River system into southeast Queensland. And all of these were like at the time when there was a drought were very popular and they got passed in the parliament. But eventually when, it started raining, it was just dead in the Senate. And these were like really good things that would have, I know we're not in drought right now, but like, there could be another one
There
at some
will
point,
be.
and there will be. So it would have been really cool if that was actually done.
Yeah.
So
And
I
who-
kind of I
that would have
understand
been
where
cool,
you're.
Ali.
Yeah.
Who instituted
So
this?
honestly, I think that old school Labor, as always, had it right. There's one thing I agree with on Joe Hildebrand. It's just like old school Labor, they were the good ones. But they were.
Yeah.
Give me the days when you got elected as a premier purely by being taller than everyone else. I liked those days.
More
of someone
drubbing.
that just had like, I've got a smile that I'm pretty sure I could bend wire with. And then he's in for life. I want those days. Striped
Yeah,
suits, those
yeah,
bowler hats.
yeah.
You know he means business when he tips his hat like that. Yeah, Jake,
More-
right,
and more
right.
like-
Pulling up his sleeves and you're just
Yeah.
like, yes, he's going to fuck someone up.
Yeah,
But I
more-
think it would be actually sorry, just as like a side note, it would be very, very hard.
The every man nods. He loves it.
Not enough people just getting in because they can fit 3 billiard balls in their mouth.
I know.
Anyway,
I'm
sorry.
sick
Go
of
on.
all these
Go on.
prime ministers now that look like if they were in our generation, they'd be into Dungeons and Dragons. Since when do nerds get to run us?
Yeah.
But I just want
It
to
has
like
to be burly cunts. That's the natural order of things. And I'm not one of them. But I'm not running for Senate. I'm just saying, like, Ben Cousins from the West Coast Eagles should be Prime Minister.
But I just want to like tell you something. It
Speaking
is-
common sense.
You won't be able to do that without referendum.
No, that's-
Because the High Court interprets
they
having an
changed
upper
the law,
house
did they?
as being constitutionally enshrined. In fact, they tried to get rid of the upper houses in several states, and the High Court always struck it down.
How did Queensland?
This was back in the day, though. Queensland pretty much got elected. This is what's really cool about Queensland. I have very negative opinions of it when it comes to national level, but on a state level, first state in history, in the world's history, to elect a workers' party. Do you know that?
Wait, what do you mean? Like the Labour Party?
The Labor Party. There was no workers' party ever that had gained power until 1894.
Shit.
That's memory serves. I can't remember, but it was
Just say
it was
back in the day.
Back in the day. Back in the day.
Pre-federation. Pre-federation. right?
Pre-federation
Federation.
days.
That's pretty cool.
Where it was pretty much illegal to run unless you had Ali's mustache.
Yeah.
You had to have that, and then you could.
And that's how it should be.
That's how it should be.
Yeah.
And those guys made it, and then also Australia was the first country to elect a workers' party because we were kind of just an experiment, and there wasn't this convergence of very organised business interests like there is back then. They actually had two parties running because business interests were very different. That's why they had the Protectionist Party and the Free Trade Party. And so Labor was actually able to win back then.
You know, like I love these tidbits, like Queensland being like the first one to ever elect. You know, the other one is like rednecks, which I think I've told you guys.
Yeah.
I read up about that recently as well. It's crazy. It's completely
Rednecks?
changed my view of the term redneck. Do you know where rednecks
Is that
come
true?
from?
That was like a commie thing, right?
Yeah, it was. They were union workers, and the way that they projected themselves, so they would literally. Their demand was better working rights,
Right,
And the
right.
way they were known was they would wear a red bandana around their neck.
I did not know
And they were called, and literally the elite shunned them as poor, dirty. They killed a lot of them. They were like serious protests that were like eventually handled with force.
Wow.
How much different to what is happening now? And they were known as rednecks, these union guys, until today. And now redneck is being interpreted as like someone that is like, you know, poor white trash or
Yeah.
whatever.
It's the classic turn of business propaganda, which is why I
didn't know
do agree and disagree with your point, Ali. But that's a legitimate propagandic point. I swear it'd have something to do with Edward Bernays, but that was when
Damn.
the concept of propaganda really solidified in the West. Was Edward Bernays coming up with this playbook for corporations to use? I swear that would be one of them. This is why I'm always against people using terms like left and right, because that was something that Edward Bernays would use to
Segregate.
pincer parties that the businesses didn't want. They'd make them extremist right or extremist left.
Yeah.
This is what's happening these days, right?
Yeah. It's still the model.
It's still the model today, and it's even more effective now because everyone's forgotten that it's the model.
Yeah.
This is the other thing that I think is crazy about back in Federation days. People used to understand why the Labor Party was called the Labor Party, because it represented Labor.
Yeah, the workers.
People don't even understand this very simple point
Yeah.
now, but it was just a common knowledge fact. It's weird that we are less educated in a lot of ways than those bald-looking leukemia kids that always wore men's clothes with dirty faces.
Well,
and shine your shoes, Governor, couldn't read.
I'm gonna
but
play
they
the
understood
devil's
that the Liberals
advocate
were
here.
represented by banks. They were representing banks, and they understood that the Labor Party was representing workers.
But like, okay, so the devil's advocate would say that the Labour Party, even though it has the name Labour, does not represent the labour class anymore.
Yeah, exactly. But what is their evidence of that? What do they always use for this?
What does it represent?
What are the
well,
arguments for that it doesn't represent the workers?
They say like it's almost representing like the upper middle class or something, and just
Yeah, exactly. But what are they basing that off? The fact that they no longer are prime ministers. Just like, what's your qualifications for being a prime minister? Well, I worked in the salt mines for 20 years and I've got the black lung.
Yeah.
That used to be prime ministers of the Labor Party.
Yeah.
Now they're lawyers from Sydney University. It doesn't mean that they're not representing workers. It just means that they're not workers.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. And also like, and all of the perceptions about them not being for workers are like very propagandist. Like
that is what-
they're not.
It's always the Telegraph saying this.
It's safe to say
here's
they're
my
not
answer. You should
accurate,
vote for Scott Morrison.
Yeah.
There's
It
your
would be-
worker
it
because he
would be-
likes the footy.
How can we? I suppose it's different times, and like there are huge advantages to having a law degree as opposed to working the salt mine. But can we bring back the salt mine guys?
No, I think the salt mine guys were way more boss. You know what?
How do we
people
bring them
like-
back? Can we just go out?
I don't think there is a way anymore. I think politics has become far too professionalized at this point. And on top of that, someone like Bill Shorten, for everybody that says that he was a weak, ineffective opposition leader, it's the furthest thing from reality. A massive reason for why they were able to take down the juggernaut that was Turnbull, that was supposed to be this peace offering to middle class Australia because he believed climate change was real. Shorten was basically able to take that guy down.
Yeah.
He was a master tactician of parliamentary procedure and tactics.
Also, screw the cult of personality. It's just so boring. It's like,
boring,
what's his wife
but like
Who
again,
gives a
it's
works,
not going to
though.
win you elections if you try to
Yeah,
get
I
rid of
know.
that kind of.
But
But
again,
the thing was,
I mean-
those salt mine workers, the Andrew Fishers of the world, they used to introduce crazy stuff. You know, Ali, I was just reading this recently. You would love this. He wanted to introduce into the Constitution. He passed like 8 referendums. That's one of the main reasons that he fell out of government, because he made people vote 8 times in 1 year, and people were pissed off about the postal vote. But one of the votes that he was trying to get passed into the Constitution. How baller would this be? What a different society it would be now. The government could just determine that a business had a monopoly and decide to nationalise it on a whim, and didn't even have to offer them compensation.
We used to be able to
You're
like
a
do that
monopoly,
quite easily.
You're us now.
In fact, like the Rockefellers were breaking up for that specific purpose.
Yeah, like,
But broken up is different.
What?
This is owning the Rockefellers.
Yeah, like no, well, okay, nationalizing them completely. Okay, gotcha.
That's hardcore.
So you
that's
just
hardcore.
annex it.
That's hardcore.
Where do you get that apart from maybe Turkmenistan these days?
You can do
no,
that
the
anywhere,
workers'
really.
paradise.
You can, like, technically speaking, if you've got
Not
like
wrong.
a bipartisan support and political will, you can do that.
Technically.
Yeah, but no one does it because
No,
they're
actually, I
too
don't think you
shit-scared.
can. I think it's in the Constitution that you can buy back companies.
You have to like
Government has the right
compensate
to
them,
buy-
but
compensate
look
them.
under like
How much better is it annexing?
Yeah,
And
it's
I was
very cool.
always saying this. I was always saying this all throughout my political degree and in year 12. I remember this over and over again where they'd say that Mexico had to default on its debt. My question always, and no one could ever give me a straight answer to this, why can't Mexico just say we're not paying it back?
That's what
They could.
Iceland did.
No, they could, but the repercussions of that are that they'll be shunned from like all of these world
Trade.
organizations.
Dude,
World
Iceland
Trade
did that.
Organization.
But I think it'll probably
they won't
pan
get
out
like
better, especially somewhere like Australia that is sustainable, that is it could feed itself, it could clothe itself, it could supply itself with all the energy requirements that it needs, all the goods that it needs. Just turn it into a huge Cuba.
yeah, that's a
right, well, that's-
risky
you know, but-
proposition.
Always the extreme. With
But I get where you're coming from. Your heart is in the right place.
come on, you
All right,
want
look,
that.
No, I don't
Let's
know.
just
That
go
was the
back to a
best,
much more middle ground, steady as she goes opinion. Abolish the Senate.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's a lot more difficult than you think it is.
I know it's a lot more difficult,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying it should happen.
Yeah.
I think that as always,
Do you know who agrees with
guys
you?
with big chins that used to run as premiers in the 20s had the right idea.
I don't disagree
I think
with
like
that.
Tony Abbott agrees with you.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, the
I think
Libs
actually basically everyone.
Berejiklian.
Berejiklian agrees with it, and I was just for once I agree with that
Because this is not like a
horrifying
Labour issue.
Squidward woman, huh?
Like, this is not a Labour issue. Like, the Liberals would love to abolish the Senate in places where they're constantly
Yeah,
in
because
power.
they would see it as
Like,
they would
love
want the
it in
total
New South
control.
Wales, for
Yeah,
instance.
but Jordan,
Liberals.
if
Yeah.
it what would,
Yeah, but the thing is, that's what I'm saying. If the public had to bear the full brunt of Gladys Berejiklian, she would have lost the last
are
election.
you sure though?
Maybe.
Propaganda only works to a certain point.
What? That completely defies everything that you've done for the last 8 years.
No, I always said that. I said that as soon as it gets to a point where there's like a depression or a world war,
Oh, yeah,
this
yeah,
is when the Labor Party usually wins office. It's these extreme moments in history. And it was the same throughout the Hawke Keating years, because they had to completely retool the economy because inflation was just through the roof.
Jesus.
But at a certain point, business just goes, okay, we've eaten enough cake. We're getting sick. And I think that's what needs to happen for Labor to win. And that's why they win in Queensland all the time. And that's why I want you guys, especially throughout the next election until there is an election, can you shut the fuck up about Adani? For Christ's sakes.
Because Labor
Give them a break.
right?
What, Adani needs a break.
No. Because Labor
Yeah.
Oh, the
passed.
yeah.
A, let Adani pass. What weird views I have. Abolish the Senate, build Adani tomorrow.
Are you saying I've got to stop
Osama bin
right?
Laden should build Adani, bring him back from the
Bring him
dead.
back from
Are you
the
saying
dead.
I can stop spray
capture-
painting?
Everyone has to convert to Islam.
Are you saying that I can stop spray painting every stop sign with Adani at the bottom of it?
Oh, that's
Yes.
fair. That's why Holsworth
Stop,
is
and
covered in
stop
that.
blaming Anastasia Palaszczuk for it. She reduced it by, made it a sixth of the original size. She didn't end up firing 20,000 firefighters, teachers, and nurses to get the money to build Adani. She was obviously
Pragmatic.
opposed to it in a pragmatic
Dude,
way
fuck
for the last 6
Adani,
years.
man. They're not doing anything that's good for, like, they're screwing up the Great Barrier Reef. They're extracting more coal. Yeah, we're getting a few dollars out of it, and I understand for, like,
No, we're
Queensland
not
politics,
really,
it's,
but-
like, essential for survival.
No,
but
but-
I am not a politician in Queensland, and I can speak my mind. Fuck Adani.
Yeah, it's a bad thing, but this is what people don't understand about the tepid politics of Queensland. If Labor comes out and says fuck Adani, they lose every North Queensland seat overnight
Yeah,
because
I
they
get
see that as an attack on coal. Right?
But-
so if they come out and say that, yeah, and then people are going to say they gave them subsidies after 6 years and minimal subsidies.
I feel like Labor is the
the
pragmatic.
LNP was willing to. The LNP gutted the state. You know what the first term of the Labor Party was? Just undoing all of the damage that the Liberals, the LNP did to the public sector. That was it. Just rebuilding frontline services. They've been decimated because of the LNP.
Are
But
they
that's what I
still doing
like
it?
about them not having a Senate is that people are allowed to see the full extended
Yeah.
brunt.
I get that.
Of the Liberals and Nationals. They're allowed to see what they're actually about.
He has a point.
But isn't Gautam Adani, like, abandoning his like, Australia project?
That's what I think as well. I think that the Adani project, which is what most people don't understand about it, it's just something that he keeps on his balance sheet so he can get funding and leverage for other projects that actually are profitable for him. But he just puts that there so he can say that he has this ghost asset.
Yeah. Look,
The Labor.
Adani, the guy that it's named.
Oh, right.
I guess what we could say, reverse evil Gonski.
look, I understand for, like, really pragmatic reasons, and also the fact that, like, Labor's version of the Adani plan is significantly better than Liberals' version of the Adani. Dude, the Liberals basically wanted to spend public money to build the terminal for them. The entire thing. They want to lay out the entire infrastructure for them
Yes.
with a guarantee that they'll buy some coal.
Ali.
Oh my God.
And,
Labor said, like, you got to
and we're
build it
willing
yourself.
to
That was
pay
good.
for it by firing 20,000 frontline workers throughout Queensland.
That's-
20,
I don't know.
20,000.
Shouldn't there be like a law where if you're going to like give out public money to a private company that like half of the profits of that the private company make go back into the public sector?
Oh my God! Welcome to the club, bro. That's a really commie thing to say, and that's
not.
why
That's like
Dude,
right labor.
No. Saying that, do you know, like, do you realize
Nah,
that every
right labor ain't about
technology
that.
that we, including these microphones, whatever, is based on public support, like public funding? usually for military purposes, which is
Yeah,
spent
like-
by tax dollars,
yeah, I know
and eventually an offshoot of that becomes a technology.
Like the net.
My entire like life's argument is that part of those profits belong to us, as in like the public, not because like the companies are being benevolent. It's because we need
paid
our
for
own
it.
bloody share of pie.
Yeah,
we have
agree
paid
with
for
that.
everything. Like literally, you open like a phone, any phone, modern day smartphone. Every little piece of that technology is based on public research.
Yeah.
Most people assume now that like
yeah.
it's private research, but it's not.
Because the military is publicly funded, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking come on.
Wi-Fi.
And,
Invented by the
which was-
CSIRO.
Which was also like an
What?
Australian thing that we fucked up.
I didn't know that. That's crazy. Yeah, that it's not even logical. I mean, yeah, I agree with you, man. There you go. We can come together on something.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's a highly controversial opinion that you just said.
But isn't it more
Like the
controversial?
right wing is afraid of that so much.
But isn't it way more controversial? Unless you guys are just not representing it accurately, because it sounds insane to me to take public money, so money out of the budget that is essentially ours, and then subsidize a private company to extract our resources, and then be like, and then Adani's like, oh yeah, we'll hire a few people and tax us at like 10%.
Yeah, and
That's
also
a
say,
shit
We're
deal.
going to hire 10,000 people. No, you're not. You're going to hire less than 1,000. Well, I mean,
dude,
really, 1-0.
I'm sorry, like I know Trump's like a genius PR guy and he's not he's in every other respect not a genius. But dude, even if you explained that to Trump, you'd be like, what do you think of this? He'd just be like, that's the worst
Well,
deal
I'll
in
give
history.
you what their argument is.
It's a terrible deal.
I'll give you what
Right?
their argument is. Right?
Trump
So
would agree with that, actually.
Trump maybe, but the thing
He
is,
wouldn't
so
pass it, but he'd agree with
That's
it.
what I'm saying. It doesn't make sense.
spending public money for extracting our resources is technically true. But the way the Liberal National Party will put it is that first of all, we don't need that resource. Technically speaking, we don't need enough of it to generate our own electricity because our demand isn't that high, and also we have other avenues now. So it's kind of just like there. Secondly, they would argue that our entire purpose for doing this is to facilitate,
Foreign investment.
well, not just foreign investment, but like a company that well, infrastructure they're paying for themselves. They're saying just like a stable demand for our coal. Because if we build this infrastructure for them, that's their argument. I'll tell you what Labour also says. Their argument is if we build this like infrastructure for them, what this allows us is to sell our coal at a good price for a long ass time.
Right. Okay.
Because there's like need in India for it. Labour's argument was, the last I checked, that that's true and we want that. However, this
government
deal is
shouldn't pay for
profitable enough for them to build it themselves. We don't have to facilitate this.
No. It
Because
was
they're
even
not
better than that. It was such a good challenge. This was the tightrope that Labor had to walk until there was a very concerted effort in the Murdoch press to push Anastasia Palaszczuk to the point where they were basically sending messages that if you don't pass Adani, we will run you into the ground into the next state election. And she has both the Murdoch press owning all the papers in her state and Clive Palmer creating all of these Koch brothers-esque
man.
think tanks in Queensland. She has to make some deals, right? But her tightrope that she was walking for years was, if it's profitable enough, let private investment do it. Because if the demand is truly there, that will facilitate it itself. So we don't need to put government dollars into this.
But that's
It's
true,
so much more sensitive.
Like, because there is another scenario which the LNP wouldn't tell, is that we spend all of that money on build. But this isn't cheap shit. This is expensive stuff. We build all of that, and eventually we don't even have a stable demand for it. Where like Adani for some reason goes bankrupt. There's a lot of speculation that Adani's their own checks and balances.
Bankrupt, right? Yeah.
Well, not bankrupt, but like
Thank God.
they're hemorrhaging a lot of money. So technically they might not do it. Let's say some other company in India does it. But is there going to be enough demand? Because these are like decade projects.
It's
We're expecting if
short-term
we do
thinking,
this that we like, dude, like if we do this, like you want to do this, you want to buy our coal for like the next 10 years or something at least. And they might sign a contract for it.
And
but
India's
maybe there
moving out
isn't
of coal
there isn't
rapidly.
demand. What if like our oil prices collapse so much that it becomes profitable for India to switch over to oil instead of buying coal from us? These are there.
And
So
the price of coal has been plummeting for a decade.
it has
We
been
should be
plummeting.
like-
And so I think it's extremely wise for any government to say, fine, if you want to do this, if you want to fuck over
Do it
our natural
yourself.
resources,
Yeah.
you do it yourself. And
How
if
is that
if you don't want to
not-
do it, then it's not like worth it.
It's a reasonable argument. I would argue that it's reasonable for them to build themselves completely. I mean, look, if I want to build a business, I don't get a fucking government handout.
Because you don't know how to apply for it, but you do.
Oh. Okay, fine, but it's minuscule,
like,
right? It's minuscule, right?
Yeah, it is minuscule.
I mean,
but
look-
I suppose actually in the grand scheme of things, unless it's the LNP, but this is the whole point.
No, but the point is, if you say
Pretty
like,
much Anastasia Palaszczuk, this is the difference. The LNP were saying, we'll build it for you and you can have all the profits. Anastasia Palaszczuk was basically saying, we'll give you as much as we give cunts on Centrelink to start a business.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things. The subsidies that they were giving were minuscule.
So what-
And then the other thing that I just need to point out for the next election for any Queensland listeners there, and I will be making more votes about this, but if you vote out Queensland Labor, you can say goodbye to any reef plan, which is insane. In
Think of the tourism
2022
money.
this day, the LNP do not have a reef plan. No strategy for managing the Great Barrier Reef. You
Yeah.
can say hello to them scrapping all land clearing laws like they did under Campbell Newman, which will increase land clearing to levels that they have in New South Wales. In fact, it exceeded New South Wales. And New South Wales has some of the worst land clearing rates in the world. Queensland had worse land clearing rates. And if you put in those land clearing rates, the thing if you're going to kill the Great Barrier Reef with a Darnie, you're going to kill it a hell of a lot faster if you have all of that runoff coming from all of this cleared land into the Great Barrier Reef. That kills about 40 to 50% of the coral. On top of that, you can say goodbye to any infrastructure plan that Queensland Labor had in place for 50% renewables by 2030, which, as we all know, as soon as these targets are in place, the Greens always come out and say, oh my God, but it's not 100%, it should be 100%. That's not the point. The point is there to put this target that attracts investment but doesn't scare off coal to run a huge campaign against you so that you get voted out. Because as soon as you have that 50% target, it exceeds it by a mile. This is why Adelaide started out with a 50% target by 2030, and they're already at 100% pretty much. 2021, I'll have to look into it.
no,
but
they
like,
are. They're close to 100.
They're close to 100%.
Renewables.
Yeah,
Renewables. So they were 11 years ahead.
that was their whole problem. That's why like they kept having blackouts, and then Elon Musk had to install a battery because they weren't producing it from normal power plants. They were literally
No. Those blackouts were a result of the coal plant. This is the propaganda that was sold around that. It had nothing to do with renewables. It was because the coal plants were failing because of heat waves due to climate change, shutting down all of these 60-year-old facilities. So all of that's a lie anyway. But Queensland especially has some of the richest renewable resources on planet Earth, right? It's the sunshine state.
Yeah.
In fact, there was this really good saying from this guy that is the forefather of Germany's renewable policy. So one of the biggest and most ambitious renewable policies on earth. He was complaining to Rudd's chief economist that the worst place to be producing renewable energy in Australia
Is
is
Victoria.
better than the best place to be producing renewable energy in Germany.
Yeah, that
But
makes a lot
Queensland
of sense.
especially has the best renewable resources in the country.
Dude, all of
so
Australia
obviously, if you
has
have a
lot of
target,
potential.
Huh?
Entire
All of Australia
has
absolutely
a lot of bloody potential.
500 times more than what we need. And we could be exporting all of that. We can be bringing back all of these really intensive industries, giving them free energy like steel and aluminium. We're talking about trillions of dollars of investment.
So is Victoria like flush with cash? Are they just like, we got too much money? This is going too well. Is that sort of the situation?
Adelaide.
Adelaide, sorry, South.
Sorry, South Australia.
Yeah, people,
other state.
there's in certain
And it's like, one of
like,
the easiest states to remember.
Sorry.
Australia, but the southern
South.
part.
There are-
but
there are
Victoria's
many
the Labor
ins-
government, right? Victoria's Labor.
Victoria's Labor.
And South Australia is as well.
No, South Australia was for a very long time.
what are
It
they
just
now?
went over to the Libs.
Really?
Yeah.
And now the Lib's going to just axe all that funding?
No, because there's no incentive now because it's too far along. This is the whole point about
So they're not gonna
keeping
axe
Labor
it?
in for long periods of time. They change the system so
Yeah.
much that the Liberals can't backtrack on it.
They literally can't do it. That's mad.
So they're just implementing the rest of Labor's policy.
So wait a sec. So if you go to South, what's it called? South Australia, that one.
That's the one.
And you were to interview, their like Berejiklian, like their,
Steve Marshall.
Yeah, Steve Marshall. Like what? They interview him and he's just like got Hessian pants on. He's agreeing. He's like, yeah, man, renewables all the way, dude. But I love oil companies and coal too. But dude, these batteries are pretty dope, man.
Yeah, it's probably just Richard D. Natali with a fake beard on. And
No,
falls
but
off
seriously,
during
what is
an
the
interview.
what is
Oh.
no? But seriously, what is the rhetoric? How can you have a state that is 100% renewable and be in the libs? How?
Because that's what happens to the Liberals
But what's the rhetoric? I don't understand when people.
Dude, the Liberals are soulless. They don't have a rhetoric. They are exactly how Ali imagines everybody in the West, having no ideology whatsoever. They don't. They have nothing following them. All they do is follow power. So power has moved in South Australia. The energy suppliers in South Australia want renewable energy because it's great returns for them. So they just follow whatever power wants them to do.
So if a conservative media outlet was interviewing him and he was like, "What's all this malarkey about renewables?" What would he say? If there was a conservative journalist that asked the leader of South Australia,
They say that the grid is unstable.
No, but this is the whole
which
thing.
means
If you
that
watch- if you look-
he's asking like the propaganda points for the
Yes.
right wing in South Australia.
No, but that's the whole thing. The
That- that
advertiser
there-
the advertiser there brags about the fact that renewables are smashing it. They talk about that. Murdoch's own talking points are, but it's exactly the same as what happens in the UK, because the UK Conservatives have just made the point that they're going to go down the path of renewables and a climate action plan, and so all of those things like The Sun, all of those tabloid papers,
yeah,
they're not talking about climate as the thing. They're just talking about Corbyn rides a red bicycle. Think about it. But they just come up with different points.
dude, that's kind of cool. So those
What?
outlets are now being like, "Corbyn rides a red bicycle,"
Because most of it is just about propaganda.
batteries.
Yeah, that's it. And
That's
also,
mad.
the other thing that I found out as well, the reason that Murdoch is so gung-ho about climate denial, didn't know this, he's on the board of Genie Energy, which is one of the largest energy corporations on Earth, and obviously has huge investments in oil, gas, coal, globally. So that's one of his huge cash cows that he uses to prop up his propaganda industry across
But not
the
across the
planet.
board, obviously. If in South Australia they're just like,
No, but it's just about whatever wins him elections. And at the end of the day, South Australia is a tiny market in the grand scheme of things when you're supplying half of Europe. So, so it's just
And some people in South Australia get a paycheck for using electricity. If you've got like your own soul, because it's slowly becoming cheaper. The only reason why people in South Australia still pay for energy demand is because of the infrastructure that was required to build this renewable. The ideal scenario is eventually when your entire grid moves on and you've paid out those initial investments, electricity is free. In fact, you will get money for supplying electricity from your own grid. From like if you've got solar panels on your house, you get a paycheck.
that's
for
like
using
the
it.
one
or
thing.
the
that's made me-
ideal situation, because we have so much of it. It'll be like in Texas where it is free.
Yeah.
Energy is free.
Energy is-
No, I'm
free in
saying you get
Texas.
paid to use energy, because if you've got solar panels on your own house and you're
export it. You can sell it.
basically if you're like in surplus, you can sell it back to the grid.
Which is one of the stupid talking points that you hear all the time. It's so good that the Murdoch press is constantly contradicting themselves on this point of saying that renewable energy is unreliable. How's it supposed to power Australia? And then they put up all these examples of, see, in Texas, they're giving away renewable energy because if they don't, the grid will explode because it produces too much electricity.
Oh my god!
They'll use
what a
both
problem.
examples. Yeah.
What
What
a-
a problem. You have to
Making
run a
money.
fan all day.
Making a make.
Not everyone is into that particular ASMR sound.
All right, boys. boys.
Sorry, all right.
As riveting as this conversation has been, I think we're at least 40 minutes over time.
Oh, shit. Sorry. All right. Sorry, boys. We'll get out of here. All right. Well, thanks as always. We had some laughs.
We had some
Ali, I think it's time for you to do the goodbye dance.
Yeah, it's your time.
And just to annoy you further, we'll be using that goodbye song in Yiddish, I think it is.
Can you make like a